Imagine waking up on the African savanna more than 1 million years ago. The morning sun has barely risen, and instead of warmth, hunger gnaws at every fiber of your body. Your throat burns with thirst, so you drag yourself to a muddy waterhole. But just as you lean down, your chest tightens. There's a ripple on the surface. Beneath that murky water could be a crocodile 20 feet long, a monster that's been snatching your kind for breakfast for millions of years. One strike, and you'd vanish into the depths. You stand bolt upright, heart pounding. Then a sound behind you. Something stirs in the tall grass. Not the wind, not an antelope. A saber-toothed cat, muscles rippling, 9-inch fangs glinting in the light, has been watching you for hours. You know that with a single leap, you'll be nothing but meat between its teeth. And that's still not all. In the distance, a giant hyena prowls, jaws powerful enough to crush elephant bones like potato chips. Overhead, the shadow of an enormous eagle sweeps across the ground. These prehistoric raptors were so strong they once carried off infants in the blink of an eye, just as a hawk takes a chick today. Welcome to the world of our ancestors, a world where surviving a single day was nothing short of a miracle. Your odds of being eaten? Scientists estimate 6 to 10%, about the same predation rate as antelopes in the Serengeti today. Think about that. If your band had 15 people, at least 1 or 2 would never return by nightfall. We weren't apex predators. We were prey. No claws, no armor, no speed. We couldn't outrun leopards, outfight bears, or outswim crocodiles. And yet, somehow, we didn't vanish. In fact, we survived, we thrived, and we eventually rose to dominate the planet. So here's the question. How did something so soft, so slow, so fragile as humans, lunch for nearly every predator on Earth, manage not just to endure, but to outlast the monsters of the Ice Age? The answer will keep you on the edge of your seat. Your pulse is still racing, the echoes of predators all around. But to truly understand what our ancestors were up against, we need to step back and take in the bigger picture. Because this wasn't just one bad morning at the waterhole. This was the daily menu of the Pleistocene, an age where Earth itself seemed designed to test the limits of survival. Imagine a planet overflowing with giants and killers, where every horizon hid a new threat. Lions bulkier than modern tigers, saber-toothed cats with blades for teeth, hyenas so massive they could smash through bone like glass. Even the skies weren't safe. Eagles with talons the size of daggers watched from above. This was the buffet of life 200,000 years ago, and guess what? Humans weren't at the top of it. We were firmly on the menu. And yet, against these impossible odds, we didn't just survive. We adapted. We found ways to bend the rules of nature itself. And the secret wasn't claws, speed, or brute strength. It was something far stranger and far more powerful. 200,000 years ago, our ancestors stepped onto a planet that looked less like a home and more like a monster movie highlight reel. It was a brutal, beautiful world, teeming with creatures that would make your jaw drop. Imagine cave lions, bulkier and more formidable than today's biggest tigers, stalking alone across the vast Eurasian steppes, perfectly capable of bringing down massive prey, and humans were definitely on their menu. Or picture saber-toothed cats, built like wrestling champions with steak knives for canines, ambushing unsuspecting prey from the dense South American woodlands. And what about the giant hyenas? These weren't your average scavengers. They crushed elephant bones the way you or I might snap potato chips. Their jaws strong enough to pulverize a human skull without a second thought. Leopards, agile and cunning, would drag their carcasses, including unlucky hominins, up into trees for a leisurely, undisturbed snack. Even the sky offered no sanctuary. Enormous eagles with talons like grappling hooks slammed into monkeys, and we even have a juvenile hominin skull from South Africa that still bears the terrifying scars of such an attack. Fossils from Oldoway Gorge to Zucudian tell the same grim story. Puncture wounds, talon tracks, shattered femurs. It's a chilling ledger of constant peril. In fact, predation rates on early humans hovered around 6 to 10%. That's roughly what modern antelopes suffer on the Serengeti. Think about that for a second. 1 in every 10 or 15 people ended up as dinner. We weren't exactly mighty hunters strutting across the savannah back then. We were the atre. The big mystery isn't that these terrifying predators existed. It's that somehow, against those incredible odds, we're still here centuries later posting about it on YouTube. It's a testament to something truly special. Our very first life hack, the one that probably bought us the most time, was embarrassingly simple. Don't go anywhere alone. Seriously, it sounds basic, but living in groups multiplied our eyeballs, our ears, and our screaming voices exponentially. One sharp-eyed lookout was often enough to spot a stalking lion before it got too close. A dozen pairs of lungs could yell, wave sticks, and make enough noise to convince that big cat that easier, less troublesome prey definitely existed elsewhere. We see proof of this ancient buddy system in fossil footprints at Illirit, Kenya, preserving 7 hominins walking together a staggering 1.5 million years ago. It's clear we'd already figured out the power of numbers. This group living didn't just offer protection. It birthed true cooperation. We started sharing food, babysitting each other's kids, and, crucially, forming defensive circles when danger loomed. You can see similar dynamics in modern primates. Baboon troops with more adults consistently lose fewer babies to leopards. Early humans pushed that model even further. We paired it with another trick no predator expected: projectiles. Sure, chimps might hurl the odd branch in frustration, but we turned throwing into a specialized art form. Imagine a 90-mile-per-hour stone connecting squarely with the ribs of a cave hyena that buys you precious seconds to scramble up a rock face. This combination of cooperation and accurate throwing turned what looked like a scrawny, vulnerable ape into a porcupine. Just too prickly, too much trouble to bother with. Predators, after all, prefer cheap calories. Make the meal expensive, make it risky, and they'll almost always move on to an easier target. But social living did more than just keep fangs at bay. It fundamentally wired our brains for language, for complex planning, and for empathy. It sounds a bit sappy to say survival of the friendliest. But in a landscape absolutely full of claws and teeth, kindness and connection were arguably the deadliest weapons we owned. About 2 million years ago, a pivotal moment arrived when Homo habilis started cracking river pebbles just right, producing incredibly sharp edges. These weren't elegant tools, not yet. They didn't look like much, just rough flakes of stone. But oh, what they could do! These humble flakes allowed a 90-pound hominin to slice through thick hide, butcher a zebra femur in minutes, and, perhaps most importantly, jab a snarling predator right in the snout. A sharp stone wasn't just a tool. It was instant respect, a boundary no predator wanted to cross without consequence. Fast forward a few hundred millennia, and Homo erectus took things up a notch, lashing those sharp flakes to wooden shafts, inventing the very first spears. Now, a wound from a spear isn't instantly lethal to a mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger, not always. But it dramatically changes the cost-benefit math for that predator. Even a relatively shallow stab can become infected, slow the predator down, and turn a fearsome hunter into a struggling scavenger. Archaeological sites are full of evidence. Spear tips snapped off inside mastodon ribs, clearly showing that someone was aiming for the soft, vulnerable bits. Control of fire followed shortly after, perhaps as early as 800,000 years ago. Night had always belonged to the cats, the hyenas, and sheer terror. But fire, that glowing, dancing miracle, pushed the darkness back. Flames flickering at the cave mouth meant most nocturnal hunters kept their distance. The few bold ones risked singed whiskers and a face full of stinging embers. Cooking was the ultimate bonus round. Heat unlocks calories, making food easier to digest and feeding our rapidly growing brains, giving us more time to sit around the hearth inventing even better tools instead of constantly chewing tough, raw meat. This was a true game changer. While predators spent millennia evolving stronger jaws and longer claws, we humans doubled down on a different kind of evolution: software upgrades. Our brain volume tripled in just 2 million years. That extra neural real estate bought us incredible advantages: enhanced working memory, the capacity for sophisticated forward planning, and the acute ability to read tracks, gauge wind direction, and even interpret subtle animal moods. Early humans learned to anticipate ambush zones, instinctively skirting river bends where crocodiles loved to sunbathe. They learned to time their travel, understanding that the brief twilight hours, when diurnal cats traded shifts with nocturnal ones, offered fleeting windows of relative calm. We didn't just adapt to fear, we domesticated it. A healthy terror of the darkness kept our children safely inside the ring of firelight. Yet a burning curiosity pushed adults to explore, to scout, to remember every waterhole and every potential hiding spot. Language, that uniquely human ability, turbocharged the entire system. A single, concise phrase, like "Big Lion, avoid North Ridge," could save an entire band from disaster. Knowledge became truly cumulative, passed down from generation to generation like an ever-growing, meticulously updated survival manual. Meanwhile, predators largely relied on instinct, on ancient programming. We, however, relied on innovation. New terrain? No problem, we'll build a different kind of trap. Seasonal migration patterns shifting? Let's invent the spear thrower, the outlaw, to add range and power to our hunts. Climate flips from lush grassland to arid desert in a century. As it often did back then, we learned to cooperate, to trade, to learn from the communities in the next valley over. In the relentless evolutionary race, adaptability and cleverness beat brute strength and rigid specialization every single time. Our brains were our ultimate weapon. Eventually, the calculus flipped entirely. Armed with fire-hardened spears, outlaws for greater throwing power, and later, the silent efficiency of bows and arrows, humans became what researchers now call hyperkeystone species. Animals that don't just exist within an ecosystem, they fundamentally shape and redefine it. The infamous overkill hypothesis, supported by a wealth of archaeological evidence, points to us as the primary culprits for wiping out half the planet's megafauna. The majestic mammoths in Siberia, the colossal giant ground sloths in the Americas, the fearsome cave bears in Europe. While climate shifts certainly played a role, the timing of these extinctions is suspiciously aligned with human arrival and expansion across continents. Early human hunters were incredibly effective, often targeting the young, the old, and the injured, a strategy that relentlessly drove reproduction rates below sustainable levels. Predators that relied on those same large herbivores for their survival soon found their food sources dwindling, leading to their own decline. The magnificent saber-toothed cats disappeared. The giant hyenas dwindled into obscurity. We didn't just survive the giants. In many cases, we effectively deleted them from the planet. Yet payback in its own way lingered. In 2021, researchers uncovered a 1.45-million-year-old hominin tibia showing undeniable croc bite marks. Even as we toppled titans, those ancient aquatic assassins kept cashing in on clumsy drinkers by the water's edge. Still, the overarching trend was clear. The most dangerous animal in any landscape now walked on two legs and carried projectiles. Hunting replaced being hunted as the dominant narrative of our existence. Cave art from France to Indonesia celebrates this monumental transition. Triumphant figures spearing bison, not cowering from lions. We had taken the planet's most murderous epic, a time of terrifying vulnerability, and turned it into our origin story, and we wrote ourselves quite definitively as the heroes. If these Stone Age survival hacks blew your mind, don't just sit there. Go ahead and stab that like button and subscribe for more untold, deep dive stories about humanity's incredible journey. And seriously, drop a comment below. Which prehistoric predator would you least want to meet on your morning water run? That sudden adrenaline jolt you feel walking alone at night, the way your heart sprints at the snap of a twig in the darkness. That's not just anxiety. That's 2 million years of evolutionary firmware updating in real time, a primal alarm bell passed down through generations. Our instinctive fear of darkness, of being watched, of the sudden rustle of something unseen in tall grass, isn't irrational. It's firmware installed by prehistoric predators, a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. Kids still cling to blankets and nightlights because those comforting cues once kept cave toddlers safely inside the fire's protective radius. Even our capacity for cooperation left indelible fingerprints on our modern lives. Team sports, the endless fascination with gossip, the complex dynamics of social media. These are all modern expressions of the coalition building and group cohesion that literally saved our ancestors from becoming dinner. Brain expansion bought us more than just safety. It delivered art, music, and the wonders of science. The very same planning skills our ancestors used to outwit a cunning leopard are now employed to plot spacecraft trajectories to distant planets. The tool-making ingenuity that once cracked marrow bones for sustenance now cracks quantum problems in supercomputers. In a weird, beautiful way, every smartphone we hold carries the ghost of an Oldowan flake. Both are extensions of a fragile body determined to survive, to thrive, to innovate. We are, at our very core, the anxious, clever, deeply group-oriented primate that stubbornly refused to be lunch. Predators didn't just shape our behaviors. They shaped our very bodies. Bipedalism to peer over tall grass for danger, keen color vision to spot venomous snakes. But they also profoundly shaped our cultures. Rituals, the power of storytelling, even the earliest forms of religion. These were all ways to make sense of a world where every night was full of unseen eyes and terrifying teeth. So, how did soft, clawless humans survive when literally everything wanted to kill us? We huddled together, we talked, we threw rocks with astonishing accuracy, we mastered the transformative power of fire, and most importantly, we innovated faster than evolution could grow bigger fangs or sharper claws on our adversaries. Predators didn't just threaten us. They forced us into cooperation. That cooperation built the foundations of language. And language, in turn, built the very first civilizations. Each near-extinction event, each terrifying encounter, became a desperate springboard to the next breakthrough, the next ingenious solution. The same fundamental traits that saved us on the ancient savanna: curiosity, the willingness to share, sheer ingenuity, and an unwavering adaptability, now power rovers on Mars and unlock the secrets of the universe. So, the next time you feel a bit of imposter syndrome creeping in, remember this: you descend from a long, proud lineage of ultimate underdogs. Your ancestors stared down truck-sized cats and chose, against all odds, to fight another day. Our superpower was never brute force. It was our stubborn refusal to accept the menu the world handed us. We didn't just survive, we rewrote the menu entirely, and eventually we wrote the recipe book for human dominance. If that isn't the wildest survival story ever told, I honestly don't know what is. Thanks so much for watching. Share this with a friend who needs a powerful reminder that brains truly beat brawn, and I'll see you in the next deep dive. If this journey through humanity's fight for survival amazed you, don't let it end here. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment sharing what shocked you the most, and give this video a like so more people can uncover our untold story. And if you're ready to dive even deeper into the secrets of our ancient past, check out the full video linked below. Together, let's keep rewriting the story of humanity, one chapter at a time.